Hi everyone. So this will be our first chaser video. It turns out that I need some hot chili oil. And as I mentioned on the first video, I like Mike Chen's Strictly Dumpling channel, and he's got a great recipe for hot chili oil. And I've duplicated that a couple of times here myself, but we're gonna make it right here on the stove today. And I've got a slight twist to his recipe. I don't use some of the ingredients he does. First of all, let me show you the ingredients real quick.
So just so you can see everything that we need for this recipe, I've got my pan on the stove that will heat up the oil in. We've got a measuring cup. We've got our two different types of oil and our cute little salt container right there. And sesame oil, crushed red peppers, Sichuan peppercorns, all of the different spices that are called for by the recipe: cinnamon stick, black sesame seed, cardamom, star anise, bay leaves, garlic. We use the squeeze bottle of garlic rather than having to cut it up fresh every time. And then the one thing that isn't in the other recipe is definitely in mine. All right, and I was saying before we were interrupted by that spam call, we're gonna spice this up a little bit more than just with the red chilies. We're gonna add some Buchalokia ghost pepper chilies, some of the hottest chilies in the world. They're dried, and last time I added a couple of them, and it turned out pretty good, and we'll add a couple more this time. Then we've got our cutting board with our sharp chef's knife, something that I recommend everybody have a good sharp Japanese chef's knives in the kitchen. One of my favorite knives. It just feels good in your hand and handles very well. Just very performant. Our measuring devices for the dry ingredients. And finally, our big container that the dry ingredients are going to go into, and then we'll pour the oil in here through the sieve, and it'll heat it all up, and then we'll take it out of there and we'll stick it in this mason jar, and the mason jar will go into the refrigerator for a couple of weeks. It may last that many, but I've been told it'll last in there up to 6 months, but again, never that long in our house. Anyway.
All right, so now you've seen the ingredients, and we're gonna get started. Now I've already measured out a couple of the dry ingredients just to make it easier. The cinnamon stick, anise, just pop them into here along with one bay leaf, and we're gonna dump that into the pan to where the oil is gonna go here in 1 second. So for the oil, again, the recipe calls for 1.5 cups of vegetable oil, but I find that's probably a little too much, and I like to, and it also calls for either that or peanut oil. But as I mentioned, I kind of like to mix it up a little bit. I think the peanut oil is a little too strong, so I go with about a cup of the peanut oil. We're gonna just dump that right into the pan, and about a half a cup of the vegetable oil. Again, it's not doesn't have to be fully accurate, but you want to be somewhere in there. So there we go. Now we've got our oil, and we've got the spices that are going to heat up in that pan. There's one other thing that I haven't measured out, and I don't actually measure this out because what it calls for is cardamom seed, and I can't find cardamom seed anywhere, and I'm not going to order a bunch for anything. So I actually have some powdered cardamom. So I put just a tiny few sprinkles in there, and it seems to just add just about the right amount of flavor, I think. So that was the last of those ingredients that have to be measured out before we turn that thing on. So let's see what happens here. Let's turn that on so that heats up. Now this is going to be about 4 to 5 minutes cooking. So we're going to pause here in 1 second, but I've got to mention, don't burn it. It smells horrible. It tastes horrible. You don't want to burn it. You definitely want to heat it up to the point where it starts sizzling and the ingredients that are in there start browning slightly. And oh my goodness, I just forgot one of the ingredients that also goes in there, the Sichuan peppercorns. I knew I was forgetting something. We're going to add those in real quick before this thing even starts heating. All righty. And the recipe is going to be down below, so you don't have to miss that. And then we add that in there. It calls for 5 tablespoons. I add pretty much 4 tablespoons in there. And then I also add a couple of tablespoons into the dry ingredients because I actually like hitting one of those peppercorns every once in a while. So we're going to measure out the dry ingredients now, and I'm going to pull out my phone real quick just to make sure, like with the Sichuan peppers, I don't this time I don't miss an ingredient. So we've got our salt here, and it's about a teaspoon. This is a tablespoon, but you can adjust. It's about a third. And that's our salt. As I said, I like adding some of the Sichuan peppercorns into here. So the one that I didn't add over into there, I'm going to add in here. And 1 tablespoon. I'm going to look over at the oil real quick just to make sure it's not cooking too fast. And we're going to add our garlic in. Garlic's 4 to 5 cloves. Again, I'm using a wet garlic. So we're going to just squeeze some in there and kind of guesstimate because there's nothing wrong with a little extra garlic. And actually, I'm going to put this back in the fridge so it stays cold. And then we're going to add in our crushed red peppers. That's the important ingredient here. Now it calls for I think 3/4 of a cup, but I've modified that to be a full cup. So we're going to go 1/2 and 1/2. And that's going to pretty much, yeah, it's basically killed the rest of that jar. So we're just going to drop those last couple of red pepper flakes in there. And that oil is starting to heat. It's not sizzling yet. So, yep, definitely. Alexa, add red pepper flakes to the shopping list. She's usually kind of nice about that. And then glove. If you're dealing with peppers, highly recommended. There's lots of people can tell you lots of incidents that have happened because they've touched a pepper or whatever as they were, cutting it or whatever, and then touched their eye or other body parts, and not a pleasant experience. So I'll let you see one of those a little more close. That's the ghost pepper chili, the buchalokia. And I'm gonna turn this down a little bit. It's starting to simmer. We don't want it to go too fast. And so I've got one. So I used 2 last time. I'm going to use 3 this time because 2 just wasn't quite enough. 3, let's hope, is the winner here. All right, and we're just going to very quickly chop those up as that oil heats. Now the catch is I don't want to get any of these anywhere else besides right here on the cutting board, because that would be bad to have those seeds or anything else pop anywhere else into the house. God forbid the dog or the cat would find one and try to make a meal out of it. I know Bear enjoys hoovering through the kitchen sometimes, and that wouldn't be a good thing for him to find. So, all right, so that's the large chunks right there. So we're gonna just chop these into, make them a lot smaller. And again, I'm trying to be very, very careful here because I don't want this stuff to go flying everywhere. Right now, it's some of the pieces are flying around on the board here, and we don't want them to go too far. Okay, that's pretty much done. Okay, my oil is sizzling at the right level. Here, I'm going to show you what that looks like.
And there's the oil sizzling at the right level there. It's weird just having to take it off the other camera and put it over here, but here you go. That's what it looks like. Is it's sizzling. You'll see it starting to brown slightly.
And this is the part where you got to be very careful not to burn it. So this is where I lost it the last time. So trying to be very careful with this flame as I finish up these ghost chilies. Again, you want to cut them up very, very small. You don't want to get a big chunk of ghost chili anywhere in your pepper sauce. It would make your day unpleasant if you got too much in any one spot, right? All right, so that looks pretty good. We're going to be very, very careful with those, as I said. I'm just going to take those and transfer them right now, right into that red pepper flakes with the dry ingredients. And then I'm going to take both of these and stick them in the sink over here so they're out of the way, and no harm will come to anyone if they should actually accidentally come into the kitchen. And we're going to take that off over there to make sure no flakes go flying. And okay, that was very safe. My oil is sizzling nicely and getting ready, and I see one pepper flake that I somehow missed. It got onto the counter, so we're going to take care of that real quick. All right. We're basically almost done with this at this point in time. So we've got everything done. Don't overheat. Be careful. Okay, we've talked about all those things. We've got all the dry ingredients that are going in initially into our pot, and we are just simply waiting. Let's kind of stir this up a little bit so the butchalokia and the red chilies and the salt and everything else kind of just gets all mixed up in there. It's the easiest way to do it. Don't dirty a spoon or anything. All right. So that's all waiting for our oil, which about 4 to 5 minutes is what he says. And that looks like about 4 to 5 minutes. And it's just nice and slightly brown. And we're going to take that over. And this is the best part because you're going to, well, you may hear this, but we're going to dump this in. Oh, yeah, listen. Oh, yeah. Can you hear that sizzle? Hopefully my microphone's picking that up. That is just an incredible sound. Just beautiful. Just makes your heart sing, doesn't it? All right, we're going to put that over here out of the way again. Make sure we don't have any issues there. We're going to stir up those chilies a little bit, get all that garlic mixing. Oh yeah, hopefully you can hear that sound. I don't know. This is the first time I'm trying to use an earpiece with this to try to get better volume. So we're going to stir that up a little bit, and basically we are almost done. So there are 2 other ingredients sitting over here that you may have noticed that we didn't use yet. We've got sesame seeds and some sesame oil. So what he recommends, he also recommends adding Chinese black vinegar. I've never had the Chinese black vinegar before. I finally picked some up at the store. So he recommends adding some Chinese black vinegar to this as well. I'm going to leave that out this time for now. I can always add some later, but I am going to add the sesame seeds. In this case, we're adding black sesame seeds. Let's see. Sorry, I'm looking for the count of the black sesame seeds. 2 tablespoons of sesame seeds. So we're going to add 2 tablespoons of sesame seed, and we're going to add just a little bit of the sesame oil, several tablespoons. So let's go and add 2 tablespoons of this, and that'll sit in there and that'll cook down a little bit. And we're going to add a little bit of that sesame oil and basically stir that up. Just adds a nice little sesame flavor to the whole thing. I actually kind of like it, and that was a great suggestion, I think, on his part, because I think the first time I did it, I tried it without. The first time I did it after I burnt it, mind you, just to be clear. I tried it without, and when I tried it the second time, I put it in, and it seemed to make a much better flavor. So I am just going to leave that there. Basically, we've got this wonderful container of hot chili oil. Look at that. Oh my God. That's going to be so good later. All right, everyone. That's it. The recipe will be down below in the description. The original recipe, along with my changes to Mike's recipe. And anyway, a lot of these videos are going to be at restaurants, those type of things, doing some food videos and those type of things, seeing what's available and that kind of stuff. There'll be a couple maybe where I'm cooking. It's kind of difficult, and this is a lot more difficult than I thought to do this one. It was much easier to do the first one that I did talking about whiskey. And I will note that I am wearing a whiskey shirt today as I'm cooking, so it's important. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. We've got whiskey with a Chaser of Chow, and this was our first chow. So Y'all take care and enjoy. Thanks.